Hello, everybody. It's noon on Wednesday. What is today's date? November 15th, Multnomah County Property Tax Day. This is Douglas Block. Welcome to another 1 hour live stream chat on your YouTube recovery channel. And here we are. Well, it's the middle of November and the rains are coming. I'm going to post right here. I'm going to hit a little return bar. And I'm giving you my new schedule. Live chats every Sunday and Wednesday, 12 noon Portland Pacific Standard Time. Some of you might have been used to them coming at Wednesday, so it's going to take a little time to get in on the schedule. But essentially, we're talking about every Wednesday and every Sunday at 12 p.m. I hope there's a alert gone on. Let me see if I am being streamed on YouTube. It should say about yep. Looks like 2 people are watching right now. Cool. Well, we're on the air, so to speak. Anybody want to chime in? Let me know they're here. That's fine. I think I'm going to start by talking about a very important video I posted on Monday, and that was called My Best Advice for Reducing Anxiety. And my best advice is to stay occupied or keep occupied or to do something, because when you're involved in activities and focused and productive, anxiety doesn't have any room to really get in there. I think I'll start with a little. I'll start with a little pun right here from my riddles book. I'll tell a joke later on. We get more people watching. Here it comes. What did the egg say to the electric mixer? I know when I'm beaten. Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll do better next time. So this whole idea of getting occupied. Why is that so important? Because there's an old saying that. I had this fundamentalist babysitter when I was in high school and my parents were going to Europe. It was that idle hands make the devil's workshop. Hey, N-star, LOL. Well, okay, you liked it. Robert Lee, I'm here waiting today. First time on time. Yes, so Robert and N-star, I want you to notice what I say over here, that every Sunday and Wednesday at 12. I used to do a Wednesday at 11, but I want to make it consistent. I want to make it so it's easy to remember. 12 o'clock noon, Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m., UK time. Good morning, Evelyn May from Hawaii. That was a good one. Great joke. Hey, I'm glad you appreciate it. Evelyn May, what is it? Is it it's noon here? Is it 9 a.m. in Hawaii? You guys 3 hours earlier than we are? Well, if you like that joke, I'll give you another one. How's that? Not quite as... Oh, I like this one. What did one elevator say to the other? I think I'm coming down with something. Not too bad. No originality based on my part. So we've got 10 people watching. Hopefully get up to 1,000 by the end of the hour. Just kidding, folks. That'd be a lot of questions to take, wouldn't it? But in the meantime, please ask your questions. I'm going to be talking about LOL, says Aubrey. 10 a.m., so it's a 2-hour difference. Wow, okay. Probably because we weren't on standard time. Ryudu, nice to see from you again. Aubrey, have you been on here before, Aubrey? I don't think I've recognized your name. Everybody else I've recognized. I don't think I recognize your name. So what do you think, guys? Don't you think that when you have too much free time on your hands, it creates mischief with your mind? I tell a story of a woman who's in one of my support groups, a very nice lady, who was, had a major episode, was disabled for a while, a very highly skilled technical writer. And she went ahead and was not working, and she had a daughter. Well, that was some structure, but she'd bring her daughter to work, to school, come home in the morning, and then she's like this, what am I doing the rest of the day? And how did I get myself in this position? I can't believe it. My brother's more, successful than I am. My sister's more successful. My mother always said I would end up a loser, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So too much time. But then when she went ahead and got a part-time job, technical writing, lo and behold, that's Einstein, yes. I'm going to probably change that. That's Einstein. That's from the Time magazine, January 1st, 2000. He was called the man of the century. I don't know if you remember, if you read Time magazine, they always have the man of the year or the person of the year. Well, Einstein was called the man of the 20th century because he was the most famous man and had the most influence on human culture, according to Time. Aubrey, I really agree. It's important to stay busy. When I'm not busy, to ruminate. When I'm not busy, I tend to ruminate, which I know is bad and try not to. Yeah, exactly, Aubrey. That's right. You got it. That's my whole point. Right? Yes. Did people like Albert Einstein? He's a really cool person. He wasn't just a great physicist. He was a great mystic, and he had some really amazing quotations, which are contained in a book I wrote called "I Am With You Always." It's one of the books on my website, healingfromdepression.com. But he was really an all-inclusive person. He was a pacifist, a really cool guy. Although he couldn't tie his own shoelaces. Well, what do you know? I'm kind of like him. I was the first on my block to tell time, but the last to tie my shoelaces. So there you have Albert and I. So getting back to this story about this woman named, this woman from the group who started working part-time, and suddenly when she drops her child off at school, now she has someplace to go. She has something to do. She has something to look forward to. Amalef, you helped me a lot. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you. Where are you? Amal, excuse me. God, I'm sorry for that bad pronunciation. Amal, you must be from the Mideast, I take it, or somewhere in the Mideast. Let me guys know where you're calling from. I know, Aubrey, I'd like to know where you do. I think you're from India. So yeah, so getting back to this whole idea of staying busy, staying occupied. So she comes back home and she drops her daughter off to work, and now she's someplace to go, people to be with, people to connect with. It makes a huge difference. I mean, as I said in this video that I just uploaded on Monday, it's called My Best Advice for Avoiding Anxiety. If you remember back in the Victorian England in the late 1800s, women didn't have much to do. They didn't have rights. They couldn't vote. So if they were married to a rich landowner, they just sat around the house all day, maybe going to gatherings or fashion shows. They were bored as tears. You're from Saudi Arabia. Well, I would have guessed that. How is the mental health system in Saudi Arabia? Amal, if a person's depressed, or if they're bipolar, if they're anxious, or even if they're psychotic, where do they get help? Are there psychiatrists there? Or how many are there? Masters of social work? Do you have support groups? What are the hospitals like? I'd like to know what the mental health system is in Saudi Arabia, because I used to think it was really bad here in America, but you know what? It's not so bad. I mean, when I hear from people in the UK, and one woman from South Vietnam, another person from Brazil, there are a lot of opportunities and good resources here in the United States that I didn't realize we had. So getting back to this woman's story and how she was able to, get focused and have someplace to go, and it made a huge difference in her life. I also bring up a story in this video, my best advice for avoiding anxiety. By the way, ask questions, you guys. 15 of you watching, at least. Shoot. I'm here to answer your questions. God knows I've been studying this stuff for 50 years, from age of 18, both professionally and personally. I've been, had major depressive episodes. I've had a lot of experience with therapists and therapies. I've tried everything under the sun. I've been, struggling with this since I say the sperm hit the egg. Puma 81, I attended gym class after 18 months and I felt at least 50% better. Well, there you have it. Hey, Mikey, baby. Oh, my God. Good for you. Mike is one of my favorite long-distance coaching clients. He's really been a trooper. He's made huge progress since we have begun to work together. And speaking of staying occupied, he went from no employment to part-time, and now he's going back full-time. He says, I'm heading back to work full-time next week, and I'm nervous about how my mood focus will be affected, how quickly I tire. Any suggestions? Well, yeah, I would say make sure you get to bed early, make sure you're eating well, and definitely exercise when you get off of work, because exercise will help you sleep better. It will improve your mood. The better you sleep, the more alert you'll be at work. And bring some coffee. I mean, that, as long as you don't drink 6 or 7 cups a day, it can definitely get you mentally focused. It says, MLS says, not actually a lot of people here are struggling to get thereby. I'm not quite sure what you're saying about Saudi Arabia. Not actually a lot of people here are struggling to get thereby. Not a lot, you mean practitioners, or not a lot of clinicians? So Mike, yeah, you know that some of my clients are starting to take, for depression, something called Adderall. It's a stimulant. It's used for attention deficit disorder, and they claim that it gets them focused and motivated. Now, the downside is you can get dependent upon it because it is a stimulant. It's like legalized methamphetamine, but in very measured doses. But it really it's being used more and more to help people. So, I don't know if your doctor would prescribe Adderall for you, but it could help you focus better at work and tire out less easily. So, ask your prescriber. Robert Lee, People with mental illness in the U.S. are treated like criminals quite often. What can be done to change this? Well, yeah, there's a lot of bad publicity about people with mental illness in America. I mean, the guy who just did the mass shooting in Texas, they had a headline in the New York Times saying that he was had escaped from a psychiatric hospital. I mean, that doesn't, that's a horrible stigma. The point is that people with mental illness or depression or anxiety are not violent towards other people. They're violent towards us. All the negative self-talk, sometimes the self-hatred. Suicide, of course, is the ultimate violence against oneself. One out of every 12 minutes, someone in America commits suicide or takes their own life. So this whole thing about mentally ill people are dangerous, nonsense. It's a complete misrepresentation. So, but to answer your question, hey, Dave, you're having a bad morning again. I usually feel better in the evening. Well, that's called the diurnal, how depression does that. It's oftentimes diurnal, which means it's worse in the morning, better in the evening. Same thing with anxiety. When I had my depressive episode, 96, 97, I longed to get to the evenings. That's one of the reasons I didn't commit suicide, because I knew if I could just get to about 7 p.m., I had 3 or 4 hours of respite before hell started the next day. Hence my memoir was called When Going Through Hell Don't Stop. So Robert Lee, first thing that needs to be done is we who suffer from an illness need to be open about it, not hide it, not be afraid we'll be judged, wrongly. So talk about it. Go ahead and lobby your state, representatives to have insurance that covers both mental health disorders and physical illness. It's called parity. There are some plans that says, well, you get 12 visits per year to your therapist. That's nonsense. If you're going to therapy, you have to go once a week, right? Or you have 5 days in the psych ward. What's going to happen in 5 days? You can't get better. So we need to have better insurance benefits. We need to speak out about it, and we need not to be ashamed, that we have these problems. What about rumination? Says Pipo Alimo. What country are you calling from? I'm curious. Rumination is a major problem with depression. I have a video on that, which is my most popular video after my autobiography video, called How to Stop Ruminating. It's all about how we get in these obsessive loops over and over again, thinking about the same thing, the mistakes we made, beating ourselves up, and it doesn't stop. It's like being on a merry-go-round. Well, I say in the video, there are 2 ways to deal with this. One psychiatric, one behavioral. The psychiatric way is there's a medication, antidepressant called Luvox, Luvox. It helps many people stop rumination and obsessive thinking. The other thing to do is to focus your mind on something outside of yourself. It's also called distracting. But I don't mean being distracting in a bad way, like distracted driving. You can get a ticket like I did, looking into your cell phone, right? I mean distraction means like going with a friend to a movie, or going out to a restaurant, or going to a class on aerobics, or going to the gym, or taking a walk and looking at the beautiful sky. Anything to take your mind off the self and outside. You got to take the mind in, not focus it on you, but focus on the outside world. That is how to deal with rumination, but it's really tough because those grooves are pretty deep. Bashar Zako, I am late. Well, don't worry about being late. I used to tell my physics teacher when I walked in at 5 after the hour, better late than never. And he used to say better never than late. We had this running argument for 9 months. Well, I'm 68. I'm what's called a late bloomer. Any of you late bloomers out there? It took me a long time to get my act together to finally be able to figure out what I had to give to the world and what my contribution would be. And it didn't happen in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It started happening in my 60s when I started this YouTube channel. And of course, I started my website in my 50s, and my newsletters. Newsletters didn't start until the 60s, and my groups in my 50s. So it really wasn't, until after 5 decades that I really got it together. So don't worry about being late or being a late bloomer. Hey, Scott, here you are again. I'm struggling with my attention, focusing on anything, also remembering things. Because of that, it's a real struggle, even when events in the same day. I'm not quite sure what the second part of the sentence said, but if you're focusing on anything, you might have a form of ADD. You could try medication like Adderall or Vyvanse or Concerta. The other thing is I've heard that mindfulness meditation, just sitting down, take 5 minutes each day or longer and just focus on your breathing and notice when your thoughts are out here somewhere, just bring them right back to your breath. you cultivate that mindfulness practice. I have a video called the Mindful Way Through Depression. When I went to a program here, a very popular program called Intensive Outpatient Program at Providence Hospital, they spent like 1/3 of the time or 1/4 of the time talking about mindfulness. So when you do mindfulness meditation, it really slows down your mind, and when your mind wanders, you bring it back to your breath, and it helps to focus and direct the mind. It's a very good practice. Dave says, I'm a late bloomer, but I haven't yet to bloom. I need to get more healthy. Well, that's absolutely true. Dave, how old are you? You let me know. I'd really be curious. If you're in your 20s, don't even bother worrying about it. Nobody even starts to get their act together till at least their 30s. So, but you are blooming. You're blooming because you're struggling to get yourself well. And everything you learn from that struggle of getting yourself well, once you get well and feel better, you'll be able to share and teach and help other people. So nothing is wasted. Everything that happens to us can be used in some positive way. I really believe that. I have a video called Blessings in Disguise, and that's absolutely true. My depression of 96, 97 was the worst thing that ever happened to me by far. Suicidal thoughts and feelings every day for 9 months, and yet it was the best thing because it started this whole mental health education process I've been doing ever since then. So your struggle, Dave, will pay off. Just hang in there. Puma anyone, is it common to relate with different other disorders? Because I always think it's more than just anxiety. I look into different disorders. Sorry, guys. I need my lozenge, but it's right there. Thank goodness. So, Puma 81. If you think you have more than anxiety, you should definitely check it out and go to a really good clinician, good psychologist who can diagnose this stuff. There we are. Got my lozenge. So, so yes, if you think there's other disorders happening, go to someone who knows how to diagnose. Be honest. Tell them what you're going. What symptoms do you have, Puma 81, that makes you think you have more than anxiety? Bashar says, can medication cure depression? It can help manage it. Nothing can cure depression. Depression is an ongoing, relapsing condition like asthma, like heart disease, like addiction. But what mindfulness can do is can help alleviate the symptoms of depression or anxiety. It's in your toolbox, right? So what we have is we create a toolbox that we carry with us like a carpenter does, you know. And when we're struggling or we start to feel like we're relapsing, we open the toolbox and take out a tool. What's that tool? Get some good sleep, exercise, sit down and do mindfulness meditation. Tell yourself that this too shall pass. All these different tools that are in my book and on my website and this YouTube channel, that's the whole thing. We can't depend on a pill or a doctor to heal us. We have to take charge of our own recovery. We have to be our own recovery coaches and learn things that we can use to help ourselves. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah, I have a huge resistance to mindfulness. My psych says I have preverbal trauma. Well, if you have preverbal trauma, that is something that you need to go to a trauma expert about. I mean, that means you were traumatized before you could talk, probably 2, 3, 4. But guess what? Even if you had preverbal trauma, you can still close your eyes and watch your thoughts. Now, if that brings up too much pain, if that's too, anxiety producing, then there are other things you can do, like exercising or just keeping your eyes open and walking. If you're going internal is not good for everybody. If you have a psychotic disorder, if you're schizophrenic, you close your eyes and you go inside, you may hear voices or see visions. That's not a good idea. So, maybe you can do mindfulness meditation with your eyes open. And if you have trauma, then read a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I'll type it in right now. And read that book and go see a person who specializes in trauma. So, yeah, a trauma and meditation can be dangerous if going inside brings up more memories. You're absolutely right. So, hey, Jeff, nice to hear from you again. Meditation, not medication. Yeah, can meditation cure depression? You said yes, it can help reduce the symptoms for sure. So, Dave, go see a trauma therapist. Go get the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and work on your trauma issues. And if mindfulness meditation brings up too much, too many difficult memories or painful memories, then don't do it. Focus on something else. Everybody has their own path. Everybody needs to find the tools that works for them. Truth Seeker, hey, it's nice to see you again. Can taking lithium necessarily mean weight gain? Yes, it can, Truth Seeker. One of the side effects of lithium is weight gain. There was a woman in my group who resisted that. And she finally got on lithium, and for the first time in 7 years, she had relief of her anxiety and her depression. See, life is a trade-off. It's all about cost-benefit. Okay, so would you rather be thinny and crazy or fat and happy? I don't mean to put it that way, but I mean, weight gain, it sucks. I took Elavil in 1996 and gained 50 pounds. Horrible, but it prevented me from killing myself. I'd rather be overweight and alive. So, you know, if the lithium is helping you stable and you gain some weight, you know, when you go off it, or even before, if you ramp up the exercise, you can burn that off. It's not permanent weight gain. I have my godson was on Zyprexa, an antipsychotic, put on, 40, 50 pounds, but once he got stable and got off it, he went back to his original weight. So yes, weight gain is a possibility, but if lithium is going to help you, you should take it anyway. Of course, talk to your doctor. Chris House, I love listening to your chats. I go back to work, decide 4th, and will be sad to miss the one-day chats. Well, what about the Sunday chats, Chris? Sunday at noon. And you can also pick up the chats afterwards. They're posted on my website about 45 minutes after it ends. So by 1 o'clock, by 2 o'clock today Pacific time, it'll be on there. So Chris, tune in on Sundays at noon. I'm always going to do Sundays at noon. Of course, I get the most people tuning in because it's the weekend, right? So it's for people who work. So ask any questions, Chris. By the way, where are you from? Yes, Dave Patel says yes. That's what it is. Too overwhelming produces anxiety. Of course, anytime you get overwhelmed by meditation, stop it. It's called being flooded. It's being flooded with trauma from the past. Someone like myself who's gone, well, I went through pre-reverse trauma too, in terms of attachment issues with my mother, but somehow when I close my eyes and meditate, it doesn't bring that up. Now, if someone abandons me, I'm in the hospital. So that's how I got in the hospital. So there are things that will bring up pre-verbal trauma for me, but not meditation. But if it essentially overwhelms you, then don't do it. And, there's other forms of meditation like exercise. Hey, try going to the top of Rocky Butte on a bicycle and going, and you get to the top and you're out of breath. Your mind is really calm. You're not thinking about anything but the next breath. You can't even have traumatic memories come up. You're in survival mode when you're doing intense exercise. So get to the gym and get on the elliptical or get on the treadmill or get on the stair stepper. Beat the crap out of a punching bag. That'll be really good therapy for you. Tristan, 50 pounds, I cannot think. Well, I was taking way too much. I've never met anybody, Tristan, who gained 50 pounds on lithium, seriously. And I was also eating a lot and overeating. I wasn't exercising. It wasn't just the Adderall, I promise you. What you should do is monitor yourself while you're taking the lithium and see what happens. There's some people who've been on lithium and don't gain weight. It's not everybody gets it. So don't think that just because I gain a lot of weight, don't think you can't do this to yourself, because my experience is not your experience. So I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry I didn't mean to scare you away from lithium, because it has been really helpful to a lot of people. So again, try it in low doses and just monitor your weight, but don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I may need to do that too. Thanks for sharing, Dave. Yeah. Anno from the UK, of course. Anno, you're love to have you there. It's 25 after the hour. I need to. Hi, Scott. You're welcome. Chris House, December 4th, autocorrect. LOL, yes. I will listen on Sundays, yes. Little time for an ad halfway through. Two things. There's a little $sign button at the bottom of the of the screen. It's called a Super Chat. If you click on that, it will take you to a screen where you can make a small donation. Last time we had a couple of people donating $2 and $5 to this. So I mean, of course, $2 or $5 is not going to pay the mortgage, so I can do this, but it's an encouragement. And then your name will be highlighted. Your question will be taken to the top. And then, of course, here's a book which a lot of you have gotten. You can get it online. It's called Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood, or it says right here, Body, Mind, and Spirit Recovery Program. I wrote it in 2001, 3 years after my breakdown, and I look at it 16 years later, I wouldn't change a word. It still has the basic truths of depression recovery, everything we know about, including setting the intention to heal. I should talk about intention another time, how important that is. Evelyn May says, I'm on low doses of Celexa, says I'm very sensitive to most medications yet, but yes, weight gain has been a major concern. However, my doctor feels that better eating habits and exercise will help. Evelyn May, you hit the ball, on the head, or Is that how something on the head, the hammer on the head, hit the nail on the head. There we go. So much for my carpentry background. So yes, when I gained that weight, when I was in Ellaville, I was not exercising. I wasn't into bike running back then. I was eating to comfort myself. So exercise and diet can help modify or reduce the effects of weight-counting medication. The question is, Elvin May, how long have you been on this selection? How are you feeling? Do you think it's helping you? Dave Piquel says, same as me, abandoned in April, depressed ever since the total trigger. Hey, Mamie, hello from Great Britain or the UK. Nice to see you again. Thank you so much. Better late than never. So you guys want to email me, ask any questions? I think I have my email address written down here. I love getting emails from people. DouglasBlock@gmail.com right there. So healing from depression, you can go to Amazon.com UK or Amazon.com, or go to my website, healingfromdepression.com. You're in Texas. So much for UK. Well, I'll remember that. What is it called? The Bighorn State or the Longhorn State or something like that. I just called up a very nice man, customer service for the Portland property taxes. I paid my property taxes, but I was 30 cents short, and I would have been really in trouble. But I called at the last minute, got somebody from Texas, and he applied 30 cents to my bill. So, phew. So good things can come out of Texas. This guy was in Dallas. Scott Bauer says, I have BPD, so I only need to convince myself I'll be abandoned to go off the rails. Yes. Do people know about borderline personality disorder? It's a very difficult disorder to treat, and one of the cardinal aspects or symptoms of disorder are people who are very sensitive to abandonment and feel they're going to get abandoned. And of course, Scott, have you ever done dialectical behavioral therapy? That's been the one treatment that has shown more than medication, more than individual psychotherapy, more than psychoanalysis. DBT has been shown to help reduce the suicidal impulses and abandonment feelings of people with borderline. So I hope you can find a class in your area. It goes 6 months. You meet once a week with a group and once a week with a therapist. And they give you this big notebook with 4 modules. What are the 4 modules? Mindfulness, emotional regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, and distress tolerance. So check out DBT, Scott. And yes, abandonment is a huge, huge problem. So you know what? You can never abandon yourself, can you, Scott? We always have ourselves. Just tell yourself, I won't abandon me. I love me. I'm going to take care of me. And so that's what it really comes to. Even if you have a loving relationship with a spouse, one day that person's going to die, or you're going to die, or the Buddhists say that everything about the physical world is really impermanence. So nothing lasts forever. So even our greatest support systems can go away, but we can always have ourselves and our connection to a higher power. Anybody here recovering from addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction? We have some people in my groups. They're going to 12-step meetings. They're getting a tremendous amount out of them. Any 12-step meetings in Saudi Arabia, if the Saudi Arabian guy is still on there, or the UK. JK, I've been caretaker for my bipolar mom for 10 years, and while I show as much compassion as I can, resentment has been building up. Yes, well, JK, why are you the caretaker? You have your own life. I mean, that's a lot of stress taking care of someone with a mental health disorder or mental illness. I mean, I can understand why you're feeling resentful. Can you get help from your siblings? Can you get help? Can your mom go into a group home, or can the county or the city step in? That's a lot to ask of a person, depending on how symptomatic the bipolar is. Is it bipolar 1 or 2? Because people can get really manic and out of control in bipolar 1. Hey, Steve. Sheepers, right? You're from Sweden, I think. You and I have emailed together. Hey, Douglas, Steph from the Netherlands. Okay, I knew it was somewhere in Northern Europe. Do you think helping people with depression helps you to keep depression under control? Excellent question. Well, okay, so I remember I talked about the 12 steps. Step number 12 in AA is we took this message and spread it to the world, to help others. And by doing so, we're helping ourselves stay sober. So that's one of the 12 steps of AA, of NA, the 12-step program. Step 12 is, you got to give it away in order to keep it. That's what they say. You got to give it away in order to keep it. So by my giving away and helping people with depression, what it helps me, if I teach recovery, it helps my recovery. If I tell people how to stay well, it helps me to stay well. if I give people tools, I'm giving myself tools. So absolutely. Now my major motivation is because I've struggled so much, and also when I was when I was in high school, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. So I mean, it's just this definite interest in this topic of human consciousness and motivation, who we are and why do we do what we're doing. But in addition to following this path of bliss, by helping others indirectly, it helps myself. And if I didn't have this quote unquote ministry, if I didn't have the YouTube videos to do and the websites to keep up and the newsletters to send out and the books to write, I would have too much time on my hands. And what we were talking about earlier in my video that came out on Monday, my best advice for avoiding anxiety is that you have to be occupied. So doing this work occupies me, and I'm not sitting around, being depressed. Mamie Carson, Southern hospitality. Oh yeah, right. You talked about the nice man on the telephone. Yes, he was very hospitable. So Steve, does that answer your question about my helping people with depression helps my depression? Excellent question. Truth Seeker 1515. Mom is bipolar. Is also bipolar, currently an inpatient following a manic episode at 79. Doug is bipolar degenerative. No. People go in and out of mania all the time. It's only degenerative if you don't get treatment. My mother at 79 had a major depressive psychotic breakdown, same as your mom. Hey, congratulations. But then she got what's called electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, and she came out of it. So it's only degenerative. Now AA, alcoholism is degenerative or progressive, but without treatment. So the only thing that's really degenerative is Alzheimer's, because they haven't been able to figure out how to treat it yet. But with bipolar disorder, there are treatments, and when you treat it, it can be stopped in its tracks. My mom has type 1, I think. Well, that's much more serious, because mania and type 1 can wreak all sorts of havoc. Scott says, I'm waiting for therapy at the moment. I'm going back to ask for DBT as it comes highly recommended. I could do with the trauma therapist too, as I have several. Thank you, Doug. Well, that's great for you, trauma therapist and DBT. Scott, that does sound tough. Hey, guess what? I've got enough of you on the line. It's 32 minutes after there. A time for a joke from a guy named Joel Osteen. The person from Texas, I think that was Mamie. You've ever heard of him? He's out of Houston. He's a fundamentalist, evangelical preacher, but I really like this guy. He has a lot of very insightful things to say, and he always starts his sermons with a corny joke, and I stole this from him. So there's a plane, a small prop jet plane. There's 4 people on board, and the plane starts to go into nosedive. Now, the only problem is there's only 3 parachutes for 4 people. What are we going to do? The first person stands up and says, I'm a leading heart surgeon. My patients need me. I need this parachute because my patients need me. He grabs the parachute and he jumps out of the plane. The second person says, I'm a rocket scientist. I'm the smartest man alive. My country needs me. He grabs the parachute, jumps out of the plane. That leaves just 2 people left in one parachute. One is an 8-year-old boy and the other is the Pope. The Pope leans over and says to the boy, son, I'm 79. I've had a good life. I know that when I die, I'm going to go to heaven and see Jesus. So why don't you take the parachute? I don't mind dying. And the boy says, it's okay, Pope. There are 2 parachutes. You know that guy who said he was the smartest man alive? He jumped out of the plane with my backpack. I thought that was good. The smartest man alive jumped out of my plane with my backpack. So guess what? The Pope and the boy were saved after all. Let me know what you thought. I thought that was very clever. Okay, JK, is Joe? Yes, Joel Osteen is huge in Texas. Absolutely. What do you think of his joke, Mamie? 4 people, 3 parachutes. Great joke, LOL. Okay, you liked it with a 3 exclamation points. Well, chalk that out to Joel. I have my dad, but he took bad advice from our family doctor, which is my mom knows exactly what she's doing when she's manic. So they fight tooth and nail. Who said your mom knows what she's doing when they're manic? Your family doctor should be disbarred or have their license taken away. But the whole point of mania is that people don't know what they're doing. They become completely irrational. So yes, mania is a very dangerous thing, and it needs to be brought under control. Lithium, Lamictal, Depakote, excellent mood stabilizers. Is trauma therapy different from regular psychologists, Dave? Absolutely. Most psychologists do cognitive behavioral therapy. You'll talk about your past trauma. Trauma therapists are body-centered. I recommend, Dave, you look up a man named Peter Levine, Levine. I think it's called Taming the Tiger. Look up his interviews. He's friggin' amazing. It's pretty easy to spell his name, but I think I'll type it here if I can figure. Oh, I need the mouse. That's much better, right? Mouse is always better than keyboard stuff. Well, come on, Doug. There we are. Okay, so the man you want to look up is Peter Levine, Levine. See what he has to say about trauma, and go contact him or his center and find if they're a trauma therapist in your area. There's something called EMDR, eye movement reprocessing desensitization. Look up EMDR therapists. They deal with trauma. But trauma therapy is very, very good. Steph says a good joke. Mike says a good joke. Audrey says, ha. Good response. So do you see Peter Levine down there? I'll go look him up, Dave, because a regular therapist is not going to do the trick in terms of if you've had preverbal trauma. Yeah, I thought that Joel Osteen joke was very cute and clever. Okay, here's one. This is this is all right. Amy says EMDR is highly used in trauma therapy. How do you know that, Amy? Did you learn that, or have you had it used on you? That's a very good point. Just how many eggs can you eat on an empty stomach? Just one, because after you eat that one egg, your stomach won't be empty. Very cool. What happened to the person who discovered electricity? He got a nasty shock. Well, that almost happened to Benjamin Franklin. You know, he almost got electrocuted with the kite and the key. That's true. So maybe, yes, EMDR is highly effective in trauma therapy. Peter Levine is a very good person to look up. And for you guys who are dealing with early trauma, you want to read a book called the BODYKEPS, the SCORE. The Body Keeps the Score. Check that out on Amazon or your local bookseller. Heaney Cool Jumper. We've never talked before. Heaney, nice to see you. Is it dangerous if I try LSD having a derealization disorder? I think I think derealization disorder is when you step outside yourself and you see yourself from the outside, you're detached. LSD does that. I don't think LSD should be used if you're having that. As a matter of fact, it could cause a derealization disorder. So, talk to your doctor, talk to other people. I'm just a mental health educator, but my guess is I would not mix the two. That's just my point. But ask someone else, who, especially your therapist or your doctor, ask them. But my first impression is no. Hey, Mr. Douglas, it's good to see you, sir. Shalva Kunalori, are you from India? I'd like to know. Robert Lee, my biggest problem during dealing with depression is not having anything to do. That's what I just said in my video. Having moved to a new area and don't know much or really any place to go. It's a whole lot of nothing. Well, you know what Bob Dylan said, everybody's doing something. I heard it in a dream. Well, too much of nothing just makes a fellow mean. It also makes them depressed and anxious. So, Robert, can you join a gym? Can you go see if there's go check out what city are you in? Go check it out and see if they have an outpatient program like Providence here in Portland. That's structured. Groups 6 days a week from 9:30 to 3:30. That'll keep you busy. See if you can take a class. Can you volunteer? Can you do volunteer work? Do you have any friends or family? Can you go out to eat with them once a week and for lunch? Any way you can create structure and something that repeats every week, something like a ritual, like the ritual we have here. Every Sunday and Wednesday at noon, we do this wonderful live chat together. Set up rituals and structures. That's the way out of it. And if it's a new place, it's going to be harder. But maybe you can have somebody help you with. See if there are any programs out there, support groups. Go call the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI. Go to the NAMI.org. I'll type that in there. Go to their website and see what support groups are in your area. But there are resources out there. I would like to know where you're located. Maybe you're located in a big metropolitan area. And you go to that website and you can find out NAMI chapters in your area, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Scott, you have a great attitude. Well, that's cool. Yes, I'm sure he does. No, I'm from, Shava says, no, I'm from Rep of Georgia. Oh, the Republic of Georgia. I see. That's that used to be part of the Soviet Union, right? Eastern Europe. So anyway, thank you for letting me know where you're from. Yes, it's tough. Can't lie, but you got to struggle on. There's a potentially happy future. for me, waiting to thank me for doing so. Absolutely, Scott. If you told me in 1997 when I was in the hospital that one day I'd be writing books on depression or teaching about depression. See, I was a writer before I got severely depressed, and 21 years ago, and I thought I had dried up. I mean, there was nothing left to write. I had nothing to share. I was an empty vessel, an empty cup, and that's one of the reasons I was suicidal. The world didn't need me anymore. Well, I was deluded. The depression makes you think erroneously. It gives you bad information. So yes, there is a happy life waiting for you in the future. You just don't know what it is yet. But if you hang in there and expect it to happen and pray for it to happen, and do a vision statement where your intention is to have a life that's happy and productive, it will happen. Writing a vision statement in which you picture what your life would be like without the symptoms of depression and anxiety is a very, very powerful tool. Please watch my video called Setting the Intention to Heal. It talks all about why we all need to create vision statements of wellness, because what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. The mind cannot tell the difference between something imagined and something real. So, quantum theory says energy and matter are interchangeable, equals mc squared. So the energy of your thinking can actually produce changes in your world. Oh, don't worry about your bad English, Amal. It's not your first language. I'm not your English teacher, at least not at the moment. So, did you hear what I was saying, Scott, about imagining the future the way you want it to be? Scott Bauer says, EMDR is used for treating PTSD. My therapist didn't want to try it on me for reasons unknown, though. And no, you shouldn't touch anything that can make you hallucinate with DP or DR. Thank you, Scott. Excellent answer. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Scott says to Dave, thanks, Dave. I always used to have a thinking attitude. It's Douglas and Noah who are responsible for changing that largely so great little advertisement for you guys here. Yes, Noah Thomas, my good friend, has a great channel of his own. And thank you, Scott. You can see how, in the concentration camps, what was his great name? Viktor Frankl. Go get a book called Man's Search for Meaning. He said everything can be taken from man, but one thing, his ability to choose his own attitude, his ability to choose his own way. The last of the human freedoms. So yes, stinking thinking, which is what A talks about, getting a checkup from the neck up, you can change your attitude. With a lot of work, it's not easy when you're depressed because your normal tendency is to think negatively, but it can be done. I want to connect with the group somehow. Which group, Dave? You mean a group? Or when you say the group, are you thinking of something? Here's a book I recommend highly to everybody. A couple of my clients have told me thank me for getting it. It's called Man's, SCARCH, for Meaning. Still waiting for someone to maybe make a donation on Super Chat. Be really cool if you did. Just click on the $. I know if you're on your phone, it's more difficult to find, but there is a way of doing it. I got to actually look that up and share that. It's 43 minutes after the hour, or 43 minutes into this live YouTube chat. We've got 17 more minutes to talk, to share our ideas for recovery, to share our wellness, and I want to talk about my 3 steps for mental health recovery. I said the first one, setting the intention to heal. That means envision a future without mental health, without symptoms of depression and anxiety, even if you don't think it's possible. See, the idea is not that you think it can happen, it's that you want it to happen. Intention is so powerful. You know that guy Einstein over there, right? Up there? On his deathbed, he said a very important thing. He said there's only one fundamental question in the universe. It's not energy and matter, it's not quantum physics. Is the universe a friendly place? Does the universe respond to intention? Jim Morrison said, you cannot petition the Lord with prayer. And look what happened to him. He died in the bathtub at age 27. By the way, I loved Jim Morrison. The Doors, oh my God, what an amazing group. The original Doors album that came out in 67 called The Doors, many people consider it the most perfect album ever made. Jim Morrison was a creative genius, but I don't think he was right when he said you cannot petition the Lord with prayer. The universe doesn't respond to intention. So set the intention to heal. The second key is reach out for support. That's what we're doing here. We have to heal with other people. We cannot heal in isolation. That's why I've been running depression support groups for 15 years and will continue to do so, actually 17 years. How about an iPad on a donation? There's no $. Robert, there's a place, click on there should be 3 dots at the very top of the chat on the right. If you click on those 3 dots, I think you can be taken to Super Chat. So, I'm going to have my wife look at the. I'm probably going to get on an iPad right now during my next thingamajig and see if there's a way I can figure out how to get the super chat. But I think there's three dots at the very top of the screen on the right. If you click on them, someone told me you can get there. Otherwise, you can just later on go on your laptop computer and just go to my website, healingfromdepression.com. There's a donate button. But I definitely need to research that about the iPad. Try the three dots at the top. Scott says, yes, I have a vision statement. Thanks to your video, Douglas. Mine is written like a series of affirmations. It's good at making my attitude more positive. Hey, Scott, would you like to do the favor for the other people watching? Would you like to take out your vision statement and maybe read 3 or 4 lines? That would be amazing. And guess what? The more people hear your vision statement and can envision it with you, the more power it will have. Not there. God. Hey, Joan,
Yes.
can you bring the iPad over here?
I will in just a minute.
Okay, we'll do an experiment. Robert, why don't you email me, douglasblog@gmail.com, and I will research this for you for future things. I think you've already have your email. Yeah, I think I have you in my email address book because you did send me a very, very kind, letter. Here we are. This is probably going to be a little distracting, so I don't think I'm going to do this right now, but I will go to my own channel at some point and try to log in, pretend I'm one of you guys and see what happened. Yes, the doors were epic. Truth Seeker 1515. Didn't you love them? What's your favorite piece of theirs? My friend, if you look at the Oliver Stone's movie The Doors, at the very opening scene, they play the song "Riders on the Storm." That's a very eerie and amazing song by them, but they did so many of them. Anyway, yes, Scott, if you can read some. Okay. I'll read it. I'll read part of a vision statement here from my book. Let me see. Let's go to setting the intention to heal. And let's go to a vision statement from Michael, one of my clients. I am calm and peaceful. My energy is strong and good. I am engaged in life with my family, friends, and coworkers. I am happy and easygoing. I sleep well and peacefully at night. I wake up in the morning looking forward to my day, whether it is a new design challenge at work or weekends where nothing is planned, etc. So write about 10 or 12 of those affirmations, creating a picture, of what mental health recovery looks like to you. The other thing to do is if you guys are into collages, you can make what's called hard to see this, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So this is a wellness collage. I don't know if you can see this, but see somebody, you can't read this stuff, but it's basically pictures cut out from magazines with words. So you can cut out a picture of the sun saying, my life is sunny and whatever you want to put. But, the subconscious mind thinks through images. Static Echo, hey, congratulations, you're here 48 minutes into the chat. As I said to my physics teacher, better late than never. Hey, I watched the video you put on about overcoming your suicidal thoughts while I was searching for ways to deal with mine. It's really helped me. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, Static Echo. Did you get the point about this too shall pass? I also did a video called How to Find Alternatives to Suicide. You would like that as a companion. And how is it going? Tell me, are your suicidal thoughts a little bit more turned down? Because I'm telling you, I had them every day for 9 months. And thank God I didn't act on them because, the pain, the misery, the hell did end. So I'm really glad that video helped you. I put a lot of soul into that. So how to find alternatives to suicide is another video along those same lines. But tell me, are you feeling any better? Mike says, vision statement truly does work. It may take time to truly understand and believe in yourself, but in my experience, it starts to come in to itself over time. Scott Bauer says, I'm immersed in my emotions, relationships, and creativity. I'm bounded to and grounded in my environment. I am sentimental and nostalgic. I give and receive love without guilt or shame. Right. I'm immersed in my emotions. Is that a good thing? Sometimes when people get immersed in their emotions, it means they get over emotional. But if that means something good to you, if that means I'm feeling my emotions, then keep it. The vision statement is something that is your tool for your recovery. So what makes it right if it's right for you. So JK, I found my affirmations hokey and self-delusional, but I just may need to take more time with them. Well, tell me, give me a few. They're not self-delusional because an affirmation doesn't necessarily mean what the truth is. It means what you want the truth to be. So if I say I am, you know, there's a line in the Bible. I think it's in Proverbs. Let the weak say I am strong. Let the weak say I am strong. So what does that mean? The weak person is not strong, but the weak person is saying I am strong because that's what the weak person wants. Let the unhealthy person say I am well. One of the most powerful vision statements I ever heard was from a man who was very disabled, came to a minister who specialized in these vision statements and created the affirmation, oh hell, I'm well. Got better. Okay, you guys, when you feel a little down, just say, oh hell, I'm well. But yes, don't think of Toki. It's what you want, not what you have. Shala, does anxiety have episodes like depression? Of course. There's something called panic disorder, panic attacks. Anybody ever had a panic attack? That comes and goes. Oh, yes. My anxiety during my episode, one day I used to rate it from 1 to 10, where 10 was the worst and 1 was the least. There are some days when my anxiety would be a 9 or a 10, and other days it would be a 1 or a 2. It comes and goes like the tide. So, yes, anxiety, depression, they come in episodes. So, yes, it definitely has episodes, and it's like the waves of the sea. So, if you're in the middle of anxiety, bad anxiety attack, just remember to tell yourself, if I wait long enough, this too shall pass. It always does. These things are not permanent. Scott Bauer says the last isn't the best example because I mentioned negative traits, but it's important to me. Well, if it means something for you, then you definitely should keep it. JK, I just says things like I'm kind, smart, and have mastered my immediate surroundings. Well, I bet you are kind. I bet you are smart. Everybody's smart in their own way. Lee McQueen, oh my God, my favorite person is in Ireland or, somewhere in the UK. You've got 7 minutes and 59 seconds left, but better late than never. Hey, got a question, Lee? And Static Echo. I have been feeling better. Thank you for your care and recommendations for more videos. Any of them help? Hey, Julie, another American. Aren't you from Texas also? Wow. Well, maybe I'll go a minute or two over for the late arrivals. Lee McQueen says, my anxiety is ruining college for the last 2 weeks. I've had to leave college 3 times this week because it's driving me crazy. Oh, isn't that horrible? When anxiety gets that bad, did you look at my video called How to Rewire Your Anxious Brain? There's 2 ways to deal with anxiety. One is through 3 ways. One is through intense physical activity. The other is through the cold treatment. Get into a cold shower or put your face in a sink with cold water and hold your breath. That initiates the dive response. If you email me, I'll send you a sheet on tips for anxiety. Douglasblock@gmail.com. And the other thing, of course, is to work with your thinking. If you are catastrophizing, thinking that things will never get any better, or worrying about the future, you can go ahead and change that thinking and change the grooves that are being laid down in your brain. So is your anxiety, Lee, based on just what I call an amygdala-based anxiety, just a really uptight nervous system, or is it based on your thinking? And depending on that will show you the treatment you want to go to. But go look at my video, How to Rewire Your Anxious Brain. I know when you're anxious, you can't sit down in a classroom. You can't take notes. It's absolutely horrible. So I'm really sorry to hear that. Do you have a therapist? Do you have a shrink you can go to? True Sager says, yeah, I've had panic attacks that last for a week. EART, palpitations, etc. Awful. Yes, I don't know what EART stands for, but it doesn't sound pretty. Lee, yes, Dublin, Ireland, correct. Email you tomorrow. Thanks very much. Of course, Lee, as soon as you email me, I'll get back to you. You have my email address? douglasblock@gmail.com. If you go on my website, healingfromdepression.com, and you go to contact, you'll also find it there. Yes, Amal, you can send me an email, no problem. Just don't don't make it too long because I get lots of emails every day. Just 1515 says heart. Oh, heart palpitations. Okay. Yes, I'm a bad typist also. Yeah, heart palpitations, that's panic disorder. So what do you do when it comes on? Do you pop a Klonopin to calm yourself down? Do you do some deep breathing? How do you cope when it occurs? Cade, God, all my regular faithful watchers are coming on at the end. By the way, the next time it's noon on Sunday, Pacific Standard Time. So what is that? What is today? The 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. Is that the 20th? It's the 19th, I think. think it's November 19th is a Sunday. No, it isn't. Someone give me a calendar. What day? What's the date of Sunday? 16, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it is the 19th. Okay, we'll see you on Sunday the 19th for sure. Kate says, Doug, you've been through hell experiencing extreme depression. With the passing of time, do you really remember how bad it was? Can you relate to how intense it was? Oh, yeah. I can close my eyes in a minute. I can just go back to that time when I got out of bed on September 7th and was pacing back and forth, hitting myself in the head. And I called Joan and said, I need help. And she drove me down to St. Vincent's. I remember the first night there like it was yesterday. Now, some people forget all that. And, maybe that's a good thing. Ignorance is bliss. So I can bring it back. But I have to tell you that it doesn't have the stress it had. It's like watching a movie without the sound. So yes, I can remember what happened, but I'm not plummeted into the despair I felt when I remember it. So time, 20 years has healed, it to that extent. But I can get a sense of how bad it was, and I can certainly remember the events. But I don't go there anymore, right? I'm too busy doing things like making videos and trying to help you guys out. So again, get occupied, get focused, get busy, get doing something that will help with anxiety and depression and memories. Lee says, my thinking and lack of academic confidence, I get by barely and I'm intimidated by everyone else's confidence. Well, I know that's tough, but how do you build self-confidence? Nothing succeeds like success. See if you can reward yourself for the little things you can do and pat yourself on the back. There must be books on building self-confidence, but it essentially has to do with acknowledging the things you do well and just giving yourself a lot of credit. JK, I found a lot of people my age share anxieties about not having their lives together by a certain age. Yeah, well, it's much tougher to be in your 20s in 2017 than it was with me in 1969 when they put a man on the moon. There were more opportunities back then. We didn't have the financial restrictions. People had jobs and had pensions and stayed forever. There was a lot more money in America, a lot more prosperity. People weren't living with their parents when they were 21 or 25 or 31 or 35. You could get I used to live at a place for in America. I was paying $45 a month for room and $5 a week for food. You can't do that anymore, So times were different back when I was coming of age. It's much more difficult now, and so you have to just say to yourself, the rules are different. My goddaughter lived with her parents till 27. I have a guy in my group who's 42 living with his parents. So, you have to say there is no right way or right time where you're getting it together. Everybody is different, and again, it's more difficult now economically than it was 40, 50 years ago. So I know they have those anxieties, JK, but you need to tell yourself that not to set yourself up to be anxious by having a false criteria of success and time. Truth Seeker says, Doug, did you ever experience manic episodes, and what were they symptoms, or just crippling depression? I've had something called hypomania, which is mild mania. Oftentimes that happens when I get a good idea for a book and I write day after day, but that's good. I'm challenging it to something positive. One time I came into some money from a small inheritance and started investing in the stock market, and all my mutual funds and stocks were going up because it was a bull market. Didn't matter what you do. You could throw darts at the dartboard. But I thought I was great. I was going to write a book on how to beat the market and do investments. That was mania. That was delusion. But fortunately, it didn't last very long. So I've been mildly manic, but not real manic in the way that where people get out and spend tons of money and have, sex with people that they don't know and think that they're basically George Washington or, going to be president. That type of extreme mania. I've never had that. I've had mild mania, and it feels really good, believe it or not. But, what goes up must come down. So mild mania is always followed by a mild depression. So yes, crippling depression has been mostly it, with a little bit of mania in between. 40 seconds left. Lee McQueen, thanks, Doug. You're a great inspiration. And as Muhammad Ali said, it's okay to go down, but it's a shame to stay down. I like that. You know what the Buddha said, Lee McQueen? Our greatest, what is it? Our greatest gift or positive thing is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. So we're going to fall. The question is, are we going to rise and get up off the mat, as Muhammad Ali said. That is what has been my life. Every time I've been knocked down, I've gotten up to fight another day, to fight another round, to fight another decade. And I'm not touting myself. I'm just saying that that's the human spirit. I just did a video called "You're More Resilient Than You Think." That's humanity. Floods and wars and catastrophes, and here humanity still is, 8 billion people, strong, still thriving. So there's something in people, John McCain, was tortured as a prisoner of war. He came back and became a U.S. senator. So there are people who've been through far worse than I have, who have recovered and doing wonderful things. So remember for resilience. And F, thank you for your time. Thanks, Doug. Great inspiration. Well, do we have anything inspirational to say with 1 minute, hour and 38 seconds gone? And, I could talk for the next 2 or 3 hours, but I'm on a deadline. I have 4 video scripts to write because I'm doing a video shoot on Friday, so I can keep coming with the videos. Every Monday at 7 a.m., I post a new video on my channel. And every Wednesday and Sunday at 12 p.m., we have these chats. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go to, type in Healing Depression in YouTube, go to my homepage and click on the subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner. And then if you click on the bell next to that, you'll be notified for every live chat and for every new video. So please subscribe. It helps YouTube, think that I'm doing good work, and it makes them, expose my videos more, which gives me more advertising dollars, which allows me to make more videos. So please subscribe if you haven't already. Scott Power says, I'm 29 still with my parents. I haven't been able to work for the past 6 years because of my problems. I'm downbeat because most people I know are working. Well, guess what, Scott? I didn't get my first job until I was 35. I was living with my parents at 32, and they were supporting me up till the time I was 35. So, and that was when the time was much easier to be on your own. My depression and anxiety crippled me for 35 years. So don't feel too bad. You're way ahead of me. So keep, as I say in AA, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. So anything is possible. We don't give up, says Lee. Absolutely. The Dalai Lama says, never give up, never give up, never give up. Scott Bauer says, have a nice day, Doug. Hope to catch you at the next one. That's noon Pacific time, 8 p.m. England time, 2 p.m. Texas time, 3 p.m. New York time or Pennsylvania time. Take care, everyone. 10 a.m. Hawaii time. Have a great day. Dave says, I appreciate this a lot. Well, check out my channel for the latest video on overcoming anxiety. And we will see you here at noon, Thursday, Friday, 4 days, 96 hours. Maybe I should end on one last really bad pun. Let me see if I can find one. Why did the golfer bring an extra pair of pants with him in case he got a hole in one? Oh my goodness, do we have to end on that? Yes, we do. I'll say it again. Why did the golfer bring an extra pair of pants with him in case he got a hole in one? Comedy creates endorphins in the brain, just like cocaine and methamphetamine. They have shown that the pleasure center of the brain is activated by humor in much the same way as drugs of abuse. So it's good to laugh. I'm going to do a new video called You Cannot Laugh and Be Depressed at the Same Moment. So watch Woody Allen, watch your favorite comedy, watch, who's that guy, Jim Carrey. A lot of funny people out there in the media on YouTube. Every day, like 5 minutes a day, go watch something funny. It'll be good for your health, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Good luck, everyone. Acceptance and actions. Answer all my questions, yes. And that's great. Accepting where you are, that's the first step of change. And by the way, you get to be with your male friend on New Year, says Daniel. Excellent. Hey, nice to see you, Danielle. Once I stop the live stream, the chat will be going on for 10 minutes, so you guys continue to talk to each other and ask questions and comment and support each other. So the live chat will continue even after I'm not streaming. So remember that. And if you want to still connect with each other, do so for the next 10 minutes. Otherwise, I'll see you on Sunday at noon Pacific Standard Time. Thanks a lot.